June 5, 2013. Several of the world's most respected experts, policymakers, and researchers in the field of science and technology are gathered in Port of Spain. For 3 days, they will immerse themselves in a unique exercise in networking and sharing of scientific information and experiences. This is Inscited 2013, the very apt acronym of the first ever International Conference on Science and Technology for Economic Diversification. The primary purpose of Inscited 2013 is to create a community of shared understanding by using various hypotheses and the experiences of different countries to demonstrate how science and technology, effectively harnessed, can help countries achieve greater competitiveness and sustainable development.
Without creativity and innovation, informed by indigenous strengths, there can be no process of commercialization. By extension, without creativity, sustainability, economic growth, improved productivity, and increased competitiveness in the global market, job creation, and enhanced living standards could not happen. Our vision, therefore, involves harnessing the creativity that is intrinsic to our people as a means to propel us forward. Incorporating science, technology, and innovation into our development policies is also a means of allowing us to realize national development goals such as poverty eradication, improved health care for citizens, the development of a highly skilled workforce, improved personal security and safety, and indeed environmental protection. Our youth are at the fulcrum of this vision.
The idea for Inscited 2013 came out of a Memorandum of Understanding signed in January 2012 between NIHERST, Trinidad and Tobago's National Institute of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, of India. The MOU was followed up by a decision of TNT's Ministry of Science and Technology and NIHERST to host Inscited 2013 along with NISTADS, India's National Institute of Science, Technology and Development Studies, and the Organization of American States. This unique collaboration is based on their shared interest in expanding investment in science, technology, and innovation for the purposes of development that is sustainable. For Trinidad and Tobago, this international meeting of minds is of special importance. For more than 40 years, the country's bounty of oil and gas has carried the economy. In 2012, the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago estimated that energy revenues contributed 44% to gross domestic product, 81.4% to domestic exports, and 54% to government revenues, but only 3.5% to employment. These statistics leave no doubt about the urgent need to diversify away from oil and gas. Continued dependence on these finite resources not only results in increased production costs, but exacts a greater toll on the environment as well. As global demand grows for cleaner, renewable sources of energy, economies that depend on hydrocarbon resources are likely to find it increasingly difficult to generate the revenue needed to sustain the required levels of growth. Trinidad and Tobago knows that the challenge of anchoring itself on a sustainable path depends on its ability to tap into new and diversified sources of economic growth.
This Inscited conference is actually taking place against the backdrop of global policymakers searching for the holy grail of economic growth after nearly half a decade of battling a global financial crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the brutal reality is that the Caribbean must find new sources of growth in an uncertain external environment. A credible growth and diversification strategy is not merely a desirable policy option. It is absolutely necessary for the region's very own survival. I do look forward to this Inscited conference becoming a model platform for stimulating new thoughts and ideas on how science and technology can contribute to generating more inclusive economic growth.
Here in Port of Spain, the experts at Inscited 2013 agree that moving towards a sustainable future requires inclusiveness. Everyone must participate in the development process. Getting everyone on board, however, requires trust, which in turn depends on effective channels of communication for open and easy sharing of information, as well as collaboration among government, private sector, educational and research institutions and civil society. All must be involved. At Inscited 2013, the experts have come willing to share their knowledge, experiences, and perspectives around three themes: science and technology policy for supporting inclusive growth, economic diversification, and sustainable development; promoting technology transfer in various economic sectors and small and medium enterprises; and building human capital development in a globalized setting. Several of the countries represented at Inscited 2013 have achieved significant strides in diversifying their economies over the last 2 decades by strategic use of science and technology.
In our region, there are those who still believe that rich countries invest more in R&D activities because they spare the money. However, the international evidence indicates the contrary. These countries became rich because they invested strongly in innovation and pushed for a knowledge-based economy. An increased investment with a larger participation in the private sector favors that all innovators are aiming at meeting the needs of the market and therefore generate higher returns of the investment, while triggering virtuous growth cycles and economic development. In order to increase the competitiveness of the countries and move towards a knowledge-based economy is the availability of human capital, especially of high-level human capital related to science and engineering. It is necessary that countries consider their people as the most important resource and therefore invest decidedly in the formation of high-level professionals.
I think that diversification necessitates innovation, and if you need this innovation, then you need the capacity to innovate, you need the STI capabilities. That means that you need policy action in order to support the development of those capabilities, to help develop innovation systems that function well, and to support the transfer of technology. And there's an issue on whether Caribbean countries should be implementing policies for STI development in order to promote diversification, and I think the answer is quite clearly yes, they should be doing it if they have not done it already. And again, STI policies should be consistent with other key policies and integrated into the broader development strategies of the countries in the region.
The discussion goes one step further as Dr. Jason Blackstock and Professor Ben Martin zero in on the importance of establishing linkages, linking scientists, researchers, and engineers with policy, corporate, and societal decision makers. Linkages, says Dr. Blackstock, constitute the social capital needed for creating an innovative and effective knowledge system.
Building social capital between these different communities, building boundary work organizations that are capable of facilitating interactions, identifying when and how different users need particular knowledge and who they can connect to in the knowledge holder or knowledge producer side. What are the barriers? What are the sort of things that prevent knowledge from being mobilized essentially from the producers to the users of knowledge? What are the things that break down in terms of the communication? And the misconceived relationship between basic research and problem solving. Quite often what they find in the knowledge systems that are very ineffective, you have researchers who do the research and are driven by the standard academic incentive structure of publish or perish, I need to get tenure, I need to teach my courses. But once they've done that, they run into the challenge of, well, where does the knowledge go? To whom is it translated? The fragmentation of the knowledge system is what emerges out of that basic conception, that conception of basic research as being separate from applied research. And so if there's one message that comes out of this, it's really that this linear model is not the most effective model when thinking about the development of a knowledge system. Inflexibility and denial of the linkage between knowledge and power. Inflexibility was raised again this morning by the Senator. The development of institutions and processes that are not dynamic with changing times as being one of the main things. Denial of the linkage between knowledge and power is one of the most challenging ones. The separation, I've experienced this myself when I moved from being a scientist at Hewlett-Packard to studying public administration and politics at the Kennedy School. I very quickly discovered the difference between knowledge and power, but the relationship between them. And the fact that knowledge in and of itself does carry tremendous power, and the role of scientists within the knowledge system, even while we as scientists might like to just focus on our research and forget the powerful implications of the knowledge we're producing or who has access to it and who doesn't, it is a fundamental part of the knowledge system and the role that we play.
Dr. Blackstock argues that to overcome these barriers, the linear mental model of innovation must be broken up and replaced with direct links between and within communities involved in the innovation knowledge system. He added, science, technology, and engineering advice must be introduced and incorporated into the public decision-making processes. For Dr. Ben Martin, Professor of Science and Technology Policy Studies at the University of Sussex in the UK, the key to innovation lies in the links themselves. He sees innovations as neither the product of individuals nor even of individual institutions. For him, innovation draws upon a collective effort of a wide range of institutional actors. Like Dr. Blackstock, Professor Martin emphasizes the point that building innovative capacity depends more on the effectiveness of links than on the strength of individual institutions. On the theme of promoting technology transfer in various sectors and in SMEs, Dr. Kavitra Mehra, Senior Principal Scientist of NISTADS, brings into focus the role of public-private partnerships in supporting technology transfer in India's vibrant biotechnology industry. Like her colleagues, Dr. Mehra acknowledges that innovations in the biotechnology sector are brought about not by one institution, but through the collaborative efforts of many institutions, domestic and foreign. Citing biotechnology's increasing contribution to India's revenue streams, Dr. Mehra explained that although the sector is largely funded by the Government of India, the technological knowledge generated is disseminated through many public-private partnerships. Whether it is the development of the malaria vaccine initiative or the rotavirus vaccine, the transfer of technology is supported by mergers and acquisitions and development and commercialization agreements. Almost inexorably, the experiences shared at Inscited 2013 worked their way to the heart of all innovation, the human imagination, recognized as the building block for developing human capital in a globalized setting.
Moving towards a greener economy is creating opportunities for new technologies, investments, and jobs. At the same time, environmental change, and in particular climate change, has detrimental effects on certain economic sectors and can cause job losses. Identifying and providing the right skills for new and existing jobs can smooth transitions to green economy and ensure the new opportunities with cutting-edge skills in energy efficiency. The shortage of green-collar professionals with cutting-edge green skills is in energy efficiency, green engineering, and green construction has already been identified in a number of countries as a major obstacle in implementing national strategies to cut greenhouse gas emissions or address environmental changes.
Professor Asha Kanwar is the President and CEO of Commonwealth of Learning, Canada. His experience has convinced him of the powerful potential of internet-based open and distance learning policies and systems for developing the human imagination across borders. He champions open education resources as an avenue for democratizing education and for meeting the growing demand for higher education. Online courses and textbooks, he notes, free up faculty time for more research and cut costs with access to free materials. An additional benefit is the greater flexibility they provide for adapting courses with contextually relevant materials, activities, and assignments.
As we know, with the rise of social media, there has been a global movement towards collaboration in the development and sharing of content. Can the rise of OER lead to the democratization of education? At a meeting in 2002 at UNESCO Paris, the term Open Education Resources, or OER, was coined to promote the development and use of free materials for education, the fundamental principle being that if the materials are developed with public funds, the taxpayers' money, then they should be available to other taxpayers free of cost as well. So as we know, OER are educational materials that are free and freely available, are suitable not just for higher education, but for all levels, including primary and secondary. OER can be reused and repurposed to suit different needs and contexts, and could be available in any medium, print, audio, video, or digital. One key difference between OER and other educational resources is that OER have an open license, which allows adaptation and reuse without having to request the copyright holder. Of course, you still have to give attribution, but you don't really need to seek permission if it's put under a Creative Commons open license.
From Trinidad and Tobago, Jared Ahi of the Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training brings Inscited 2013 up to date with the work of TRENT, the National Research and Education Network, which provides connectivity for sharing research to higher education establishments and research institutions.
The very fact that this tool will be available, this network, this high-speed network, and the ability to connect to other institutions in the region and around the world, because the only way they allow you to connect to them is if you have formed yourself into a national research and education network on a big scale. Now, arrangements can be made university to university, there's no doubt about that. I'm not saying that that cannot happen. But in this arrangement, a lot more is available to institutions, particularly for our researchers and people involved in those kinds of things. We see that this can certainly promote that coming together, that collaboration, so that we can take things forward, because there's so much opportunities for learning and access to information that will create knowledge that will take us along the path where we want to get involved more in innovation and stuff like that.
Beyond the expansion of fellowship programs and the use of open education and distance learning, other presenters such as Dr. Gabriela Tejada and Dr. Adebayo focus on building human capital development by leveraging the resources of scientific diasporas. Their input shifts the discussion towards brain gain versus brain drain.
The international mobility of human capital is a crucial issue today because its flows are increasing, but also because of the consequences for the human capital bank of the countries, given that an important part of this flowing have origin in developing countries and move to industrialized countries of destination. So here a key question is, how can we prevent an even more increase in the world knowledge gap? Many countries are starting to implement some policies with this regard, and policies to attract this skilled human capital that is abroad, and they consider what we call the diaspora option. So the perspective actually that is gaining acceptance is that of the human capital return, but it's important here to highlight that we consider this human capital return both as physical return of the scientist or return of the human capital and transfer of knowledge as a distance, and this would be what the role of the diaspora is very important.
Everyone knows that the number of Ghanaian doctors in New York alone is more than the number of Ghanaian doctors in Ghana. Now, no one has tested this, But Ghana, as a country, has been under intense pressure lately in its healthcare system because there aren't doctors. Now, while transnational migrants may elude the data, the social spaces in which they operate, that's real. That emigrated elites, and again we want to emphasize the elites, are able to play an important role in the development of their home country. And that emigrated elites can be attracted, that's the emphasis, by their home countries and reintegrated into the development process. That hypothesis has been used and proven in many cases, but again, for the African population, that is yet to be seen.
After 3 intense days of discussion and exploration, Inscited 2013 draws to a close. They now enjoy a bond built on intense engagement and professional sharing that have yielded a treasure trove of data and experiences to carry forward into their respective work. They leave knowing that 2 years on, in 2015, the work that has been started here in Trinidad and Tobago will stand as the platform for the 2nd International Conference on Science and Technology for Economic Diversification, Inscited 2015. For TNT participants, however, a new stage of the work begins. Inscited 2013 has produced rich data and high-quality information, much of which is actionable for policy purposes. The to-do list is expansive and exciting.